We have a panel discussion for this evening. We titled this Matching Theory with Practice. We know starting from Thursday morning, there was a keynote address by Mr. Adebisi around the theme of the conference for the year. Then we took a session with Dr. Chinedu of the Corona Schools Trust Council. Thereafter, it was a session by Felix Malombe from Kenya, who is ASA's technology advisor, focusing on technology, AI, and assessment strategies. Thereafter, in the evening, we had a fireside chat with Dr. Adeeko of Old School Africa, focusing on a list of issues. And if you were not part of that, I think you need to watch that video once it's up on the YouTube channel. It's thought-provoking, it's insightful, and you need to be to listen to watch it. Then today we started off with Dr. Issa talking about data and assessment, and now we can mine data and maximize the opportunity that the data we have brings to us as leaders. And like I always say, data speaks. You understand? Data speaks. And for some people, they will say data is life. But for me, I love the fact that data speaks. If you eat the data and analyze it very well, it can tell you a whole number of issues and things that you need to know. Then, thereafter, Mr. Adebisi spoke about outstanding schools. Then we listened to Mr. Olalekan before the Charterhouse team. All of these, loads of information and all of that. However, at some point, you need to ask yourself, after these 2 days, what am I taking away? What do I need to focus on as a leader? How do I bring some of these things into my practice and ensure that we improve what we are doing and all of that? So this afternoon, we have people joining us as a panel. We call it matching theory with practice. Everything we have discussed from Thursday, can we see a couple of things out of them? And based on their own experience, they share with us some of the lessons we can take home and implement. So I have Dr. Adebisi Layiwola, who is the principal at Darwin College, Lagos, joining us for the panel. Please come up. Then I have another doctor, Dr. Toyin Sam-Emehelu, CEO, Core Skills, Transformational Academy, joining. There is a connection between the way the two doctors are dressed. So those of you who don't have PhD, so look. Yes, this is how doctors dress. For some of us, they may not give us doctor because it's flying of shirt. It may not work because I don't know how to use tie. Then I have another doctor soon to be in the nurse Uzoma Uduma. Nurse. Auxiliary nurse. Yes, exactly. Then, so a couple of weeks ago, I got connected with someone on LinkedIn, and we're chatting about some of our work. One thing led to the other, and she said she'll be in Nigeria during this period, and she will also show up and see what you were doing. And today she's with us. She came in the morning, and she's still seated here. So before lunch, during lunch, she asked me, so we've talked about all this, but there's one area we have left out, and it is careers and all of that. And she's big on that. That's her work in the UK, and she wants to bring perspective. So I told her, instead of us waiting for another time to bring someone to talk about career, since you are in the room, you will serve on the panel. So I am relinquishing my seat for no other person than Ore. My sister Ore is here. So Ore, please come. So we are very gender friendly artists. Yes. So Ora is represented. Exactly, you identify as. So I'll be asking questions, a series of questions from them, based on their core areas. Dr. Layiwola's core is transformational leadership. Her PhD is around that, and she was picking me up when we were doing something around instructional leadership. She said, "No, she will transformational." I said, "Today, she will talk about that transformational leadership." She's my senior from UIO, so I need to bow so that when they want to approve my PhD, I will get a reference. So Uzoma has for those of us who know her, is in communications. Yes, all the phone and the and if you see that the conference and went well, is orderly and all of that. If you look at me, my head is very scattered. Both Uzoma and Toyin and Tolani has kept me on the I'm not very given to rules like that, so but they've kept me on. And Dr. Toyin is so our forte too is leadership, and she will also focus on personal development for us as we dealt into this. You are marketing. Then Ore will be talking about careers and how we can integrate this. So one of the things we need to learn from Ore is the fact that, and I think I've shared this with a couple of school leaders, and for those who have attended PACE, our 6-month program, is the fact that we think beyond, we just think at the level of once it is SS3, you finish your WAEC and NECO and all of that, go. You understand? And I think we need to be much more involved in these kids beyond that stage. And I'll give you an example. Anybody that sells you a Mercedes Benz will not just turn its back on you. Yeah. Mercedes Benz or a Bugatti, they'll be with you. Why do you think, what's that one that Otumba Shubomi Balogun was using? Lincoln. The producer, the manufacturers don't leave. Once you buy one, they know forever you continue to buy. So what they do is once another version comes out, they will inform him. They'll come and pick the old one. They give me the new one, I will just pay up. Just the way you do with iPhones and all of that. Customer forever. You understand? One of the things I see us doing is things around scholarship, provide scholarship information, not just allow parents to be running around. Even children in our schools who have the capacity to get scholarships, we don't also follow up or help them and all of that. Career is a major part, helping them find their path and making progress and all of that. So Ore will be sharing our own insight from the UK system with us. So basically, how do we, from your perspective, Ore, I'll start with you. You know, these people, they are core education people, so I'll start with you. So how do we help our students make progress around their careers? What can we learn as educators in this part of the world that will surely help them progress going forward? Thank you.
All right. Wow, this is a real setup, but I'm very honored to be here, and I've learned so much even through the session. How do we help our students to have that knowledge and to gain kind of what they need for careers? I would say this, I think careers is very important, and like Bossman has said, it's because the journey of what they're learning in school doesn't end once they leave SS3, so to say. It's something that has to continue. We have many schools, for instance, in different parts of the world that do something called destinations data. And it's something they even brag about or they boast about. They say, okay, 80% of our students, hence from here, they end up, they go on to be presidents, they go on to be these, they go on to be that. It's because there's that follow-up, and they're very interested that, okay, from this education that you've gotten, what exactly are you going on to do? I'll say this again, careers puts a lot of things into perspective. There was a question that Dr. Joy asked when she came. She said, when we were speaking to the why or the vision or the North Star of students, what subjects is it that we can say this is what would help them to know their why and the North Star? I don't know if we came up with an answer to that, but my own perspective or my own opinion on that could be any subject. Any subject can be the one that would determine or make a student find their why, but only if that subject is brought to life. Only if that subject is brought to life. And I would say careers in itself just starts with saying that, okay, this is the subject and this is why you are learning this subject. It's not enough for us to teach subjects based off of, just passing or going through the curriculum or passing assessments, but it's them knowing the relevance of why this subject is important in the first place. And I'll just share my background a bit. So my background is in HR, so I come from a business background, and my career started basically with graduate recruitment. So I used to go to universities and I used to recruit straight from universities and bring them into graduate programs. But then we had an issue because we were seeing my bosses saying, what's all these things? Our students, they're not ready. They don't have the skills that we need. And what are you doing? What do you see in graduate schemes? You end up designing a whole curriculum again for people that have gone to school for almost 20 years. And you end up designing a whole curriculum to be like, okay, this is how we want them to be trained within the next 2 years, and they come in. Why? So that means certain things were not necessary. What was the point of all that education that they did? And so there's this evidence gap between education and industry. There's a gap between academia and the workplace. And careers education, I believe, is something that helps us to close that gap, to close the gap between education, to close the gap between what can be. And I think this can start with things as simple as, these are things you can use the subject for. This is what it applies to in the real life workplace. How can you bring, how can you bring kind of local information, local market information, local market intelligence into your subject to make it more real life? We do a lot of, maybe, I don't know what happens in schools nowadays like that, but you have situations maybe where parents can come, give an insight into what they do, the careers that they do. That in itself affects one thing. You have other situations where people have work experience. Things like that also happen. Mrs. Adebisi was speaking of the example of, it's just jumped off of my head now, speaking of the examples of her relating with employers and saying certain skills that they needed, creativity and all that. I was in a similar position. I was in a room with employers, professionals, and education people, a room together, which I think is the best. I think is one of the best things we have, because we have employers and professionals having a conversation in one room. We have educators having a conversation in one room. I think we should be having these conversations together, honestly. But I was in a room of employers and professionals, and they were saying, oh, these are the subjects, or these are the skills that we're looking for in students. And somebody said creativity. Somebody said critical thinking. I tell you, nobody agreed. They couldn't agree on the skill, because it is very hard for you to say, okay, these are the different skills. But one thing is that they just need that experience. And the best way for you to get all those different skills is by you actually going into the workplace. So I advocate for work experiences. I advocate for work visits. I advocate for having the experience or work encounters, you being able to meet people in the workplace, them telling you about what they do, children going out to visit workplaces, factories, whatever it is, just to expand their mind. Because we can say creativity, we can say different things, but just somebody seeing the possibility of something in itself is massive. So I would say that's the importance of careers education. I don't know if I should also speak about how we can integrate that, or maybe with the question.
I'll come back to you, just hold the thoughts from there.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so Dr. T, so in looking at this, how do we as educators practically take steps to, like we say, what you don't have, you can't give. You want to explore alternative assessment strategies. You want to upgrade your students. You want to give them the best and all of that. What level of preparation do we need? What do we need to focus on ourselves before we can get to that point? So that as professionals, we can actually get to where we need to go and do what we need to do for the crop of students that we work with.
Awesome. Fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes. So the question Bibi just asked now actually was what made me start my journey into being an edupreneur. So, of course, personally, all through when I was doing a lot of personal development programs, trainings here and there, I noticed there was just this focus on how the children in our settings should get better. And I was like, who is taking care of the teacher? Right? And I saw that market gap. And being a girl that is being born and bred in Adeeko, I married, someone from the East. Something just sparked in my brain that this is a wide market that is not being covered. And I think I was the first person that I know that started mentoring educators. Now it's everywhere. Where I came with that perspective because, like you said, Bibi, we can't give what we don't have. And sincerely, one of the first things I discovered was about 70 to 80% of the educators I met then didn't own the profession. It was a stopgap. I didn't want to study education either, and that was the truth. When I tell people are really shocked. But I came to a place of self-discovery in my early 20s, and I discovered that by the time I checked through my shape, which is my spiritual gifts, my heart, my abilities, my personality, as well as my experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I just knew everything was tailored and wired towards being an educator. The moment I discovered that in my early 20s, the first thing I did was I just have to develop my own capacity. And it's all round, both professionally and personally. So I finished service on a Friday. I started my master's on a Monday. Every other person thought that, are you crazy? Are you okay? Are you well? And the way I packed my bag and left Abia State that day, I can never forget. And I found myself in the lecture room studying educational psychology while my mates were still like, we will hang out another 1 month, 2 months staying here. So that gave me that laser focus, and I gave myself, and there's something called the law of long-term perspective. And it says, the farther you can see, the longer you can plan, the faster you will get to your destination, right? I clocked 40 last year, and a lot of people say, it's like, I keep hearing that thing. You started early, and I think the long-term perspective still really counts. So first off, I would like to encourage that let's have that foresight as an educator. If they say that a goal without a deadline is a wish. And when you begin with the end in mind, taken from Stephen R. Covey, you are going to just have that force. It gives you a reason why you wake up every morning. Another issue is that a lot of us, we get caught up in the day-to-day activities rather than taking time to begin with the end in mind. What is my end? And then begin to work from that end point to your daily activities. When you do that, you have a reason to wake up. You have a reason to want to push. You have a reason when your bones are dead tired and there's just this force that pushes you beyond the scope of what you would naturally like to do. I hope I was able to answer the question.
Thank you. The law of long-term perspective. That's very interesting. The law of long-term perspective. Thanks very much. And I think she said something. I mean, about cut his shape. Yeah. Did you get that? Yeah. Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life. Yeah. Then you can also read Ikigai. The Japanese word for purpose. You understand? Finding your shape is very important. I love to talk about finding your true north. You understand? Or finding your voice, just like Stephen Covey said. But the truth is, we need to find a path. You understand? 8 habits, yes. You have to dig. Because you can't also help the students to find their path if you are also still wondering. You don't know where you are going. You want to help another person to find their path. That will be a problem. Exactly. So, as educators, we need to find our path. After 13 years in a school, we ask someone, so what's happening? I'm still managing. 13 years, you are still managing. What will new graduates say? I am planning to, this education self, this school people self. It doesn't work that way. Even your students will be confused. There are parts of the curriculum that are not written that they get to learn from us directly. And we need to be mindful of that. So, Uzoma, a school leader, you want this, you want that, but we actually don't communicate. Please help us. We know we have issues with communication. As leaders within the sector, what 3 things do we need to focus on as we communicate to all stakeholders within the system? We talk to parents, we talk to students, we talk to the broader stakeholders in the communities and all of that. How do we get better with communication for leadership and all of that? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So the thing is, there's one big assumption that school leaders make. We think that when we recruit teachers or employ people in our organization, we just assume they know what to do. Especially because, you've got your job description, you know what to do, just go and deliver. Go and unravel. So what we forget to do is to still communicate every single thing. And by that, I'm not saying, you have to remind them every day or send a mail to say, everybody remember this, But the thing is, when you are sending a mail, when you're having staff meeting, when you're doing PTA, when you have to constantly communicate. Let's go back to the vision and mission. When teachers or hires come into the school, they've got their job description, but that is about their job roles. But how does it tie in into the school as a whole? So as leaders, it is very important. It is compulsory that we communicate what the vision of the school is so for example, hold teachers accountable. For example, how are you delivering? So because I like that question, how are you delivering the lesson? I don't care that you have a PhD in whatever, but how are you delivering lesson in the classroom? And is it tying with the vision and the mission of the school? So now it might not be, for example, if it's the school owner, she doesn't have to come all the way from, wherever she is to come and talk to the teachers. But the idea is we have school owner, we have school administrator, we have leaders, we have head of departments, so that needs to cascade down. Everybody has to hold everybody accountable. School owner hold head teacher accountable. So that accountability has to cascade down. So we need to stop the assumption that, they know. After all, when you came, didn't you know that this is what? No. So the idea is to break down that assumption thing and communicate on a daily level that this is what is required. And we will require that from students. We require that from parents. For example, when a parent comes into the school and maybe, in quotes, insult a teacher, for example, talks with a teacher and how, what are you going to do? Hey, they are the ones paying the school fees, they are the ones paying you, and then you're just going to let it go. So it's on you as the leader to find a way to say, okay, while I understand that this teacher did blah, 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 but this is not allowed. You can't treat teachers like this. Doesn't mean you're condoning what the teacher did, but you're just standing your ground as a leader to say this is not acceptable. So that needs to be communicated. Job description apart, vision, mission, standard, culture. Somebody mentioned school culture. All of that needs to be communicated at all times. So everybody holds everybody accountable. Students hold teachers accountable. Teachers hold leaders accountable. There's something called managing up and managing down. You need to manage. So it's not just about middle leader, managing. So I need to also manage my leader. For example, if I want to send an email, if I want to communicate something to my leader, my immediate boss, what's the best way? Do I need to just walk into the office and tell her something? Do I need to send an email? I need to manage that. What time should be the ideal time to go and talk to her? All of that matters, because if you're just barging into the office and say, but I said it, I told her. It's not just enough that you've told. So all of that, we need to hold each other accountable. Leadership has to communicate every single thing. That thing you want in your school, you need to communicate it, and you need to hold people accountable for it.
Much. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Layiwola. We say we are matching theory with practice. This transformational leadership thing, what is it, Gangan? Because when we say transformational leadership, that is as if, like, I think somebody said, when you Nigerians pray and you say breakthrough, I'm looking, is the house falling or what's happening? There's something breaking in or whatever. So what's transformational leadership, and how can we help improve student outcomes in our schools? You've been school-led for, when I was small like this, you've led international schools here and there. So how do we use this to improve learning outcomes? But start from what is transformational leadership.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to talk about transformational leadership. But before I do that, let me congratulate Mr. Bossman for what he's doing. Transformational leadership is key, in my opinion, to improving students' outcomes. Outcomes by way of their academic performance, their performance socially, emotionally, the development of their attitudes and skills. And I say this because I have done, well, I've read up a lot and I've done a lot of research. I know that we got into the argument between Mr. Bossman and I, thinking about instructional leadership. I said no. Transformational leadership goes way beyond instructional leadership. And there is a lot of data to back this up. So simply put, when you talk about transformational leadership in education, you are looking at things such as setting direction. Let me start with that. As a transformational leader, you are thinking of taking your team from level A to level B towards improving students' outcomes. The first thing you have to do is to consider the setting of direction. What do I mean by that? That's where your visioning, your mission statement, and everything comes in. And like the last speaker said, your vision will have to be interpreted to the last detail. The gate man, or let me say security man, must understand what the vision or the mission of the school is all about. Here, this is what we are trying to do, and the security man must understand it at that level. So it's the duty of the transformational leader or the leadership team or the principal or the head of school to ensure that in the case of setting direction, everyone walks along, everyone understands deeply in their own way what the mission and the vision of the school is all about. So that whether they are teachers, in their roles, they understand. And I don't mean having head knowledge, but understand in practice what that means. Sometimes you find out that when people come into a new setting, of course, they come with their own personal vision. Personal vision, what they think, from outside, they judge the school that, oh, this is what this school is all about. But when they go in, they have to understand, learn, relearn, learn again what the school is all about. And that is when there can be some degree of congruence between the interpretation of the vision in the teacher's mind and what exactly it should be. So please, we shouldn't take it for granted that, well, we have our vision statement, we have our mission statement, and, well, you are coming in, we are giving you professional development time, just understand it. No, you have to explain through various resources, through interaction, through mentoring, through whatever means. The members of staff must understand the vision and the mission of the school. So the first key thing a transformational leader does is ensures that everyone understands the mission and the vision of the school, down to not only the employees, but to the students. What are we trying to do in this school? Okay, they have to understand it at their own level. Then everything else you do can work around or can be around achieving the mission and the vision of the school. So the first key thing a transformational leader does is to have the overall picture of what the school is setting to do in mind and to work towards it. And if day in, day out, you find out that some people are deviating, like a good coach, or a mentor, you try to bring them back. It's easier when all of us were pulling towards the same direction instead of someone say, they have said their own. I don't believe in this. You understand? Let me use an example. You know, when we were, I think most of us in schools, in secondary schools, I think some of us were used to getting caned, right? Yes, receiving lashes of the cane. And I remember in my first headship, as at that time, the government also allowed heads of schools to give on the assembly 6 strokes, not more than 6 strokes of the cane. 6 strokes of the cane, and then you write your reason in the punishment book. But we don't have that anymore. But there are still some teachers that believe that until you beat a child, before the child understands what you are trying to say. So you find out that some of them, instead of following and going along with the procedures and the policies set out in the school, they will do their own thing. Maybe when they are not looking, if the child is in playgroup, they may pinch the child, or they may ask the child when the child is not, when nobody is looking, they've forgotten that the CCTV camera is there, to say, okay, you know, they beat the child and maltreat the child because they have not yet aligned their own vision and the way they should execute their work with what the school has said. So please, this is very important. We cannot be tired of going through setting our mission and vision, setting direction, and making sure that we are all doing great in that area.
Yeah.
Then the other thing.
Let me hold you there.
Yes.
Let me hold you there. I know PhDs, the lecture can be that. I want to break it into it. Because again, what she said about, you can't say you want to transform an organization without setting the direction. So what are you doing? What are you transforming? You are scattering the place. You are not transforming the place. So setting the direction is very important. You are building a foundation that you want to build on. Or there is a foundation and you are also continuing. I'll come back to that from you. I want to go back to Ore. I'm involving the audience. I'll take a couple of questions after this round. So if you have questions for them, you can do that. So Ore was going to talk to us about how you do the things you do and how schools can also take notes and do something. Because I know that I've seen one or two. Is it here? I think here, a school had someone in charge of careers and student progress. You understand? I don't know what they were trying to do, but in terms of job title, it attracted me, and I'm like, what's this all about? And all that. So how do we do this, and how can we help our students?
Thank you very much, sir, for that. And I think that's actually a great place to start. How exactly can we do this careers education thing or transition that we're speaking about? And I think one, even like I said about, I would say the first one is understanding the why, which was, I think, a bit of what I expatiated on before. Why exactly is this important? I don't think there's anything worth doing if the only reason we're doing it is because other people are doing it, or because it's good, or because they say we should do it now, or because policy, or because So I think the most important thing is understanding why. First of all, that should be the first step. I would say the second step after understanding the why is then, and the school understands the importance of this, is, as Bossman has said, having a role for that as possible. As not all schools can do that. Not all schools can afford to have one person that's specifically having that title. Some other teachers or some other people or SLT or leadership, whoever, sometimes take that on board as part of their role. But just, you know, having someone that is able to focus and say, okay, we're keeping an eye out on careers. We're keeping an eye out on this part that we're saying we want to focus on and we want to do. There's something called the Gatsby benchmark. The Gatsby benchmark, and this came about when someone called, I can't remember his first name, but Sainsbury, his name something Sainsbury. They're one of the leaders of one of the biggest supermarket chains, and they have a foundation called the Gatsby Foundation that is very interested in education. And there was this big wave of unemployment, so to say, students were graduating, they weren't really going into employment, and it was like, why exactly is this happening? And he found out that the root cause was because of the lack of careers education. And what he did at that point was that he funded a research for his foundation to go around the world and say, for countries that have good education to industry transition, how exactly were they able to, get that? What are the things that define good careers education? And they came out with 8 benchmarks, which I'll leave you to go and read about if it's something you're interested in. But some things I'll highlight from that, I've just written out 5. Number 1 is defining and having a stable careers education program or plan. What exactly does good careers plan or a strategy look like for you? Making sure that obviously the school is on board, the whoever the stakeholders, relevant stakeholders are on board and they understand this. I would say the second part that I've just highlighted here is being able to, even starting, like I said, with the different subjects, bringing your curriculum to life. Adebisi was saying about when her mom was teaching maths, she wasn't just drawing it on the board and doing cylinder. She brought out things that were real. She used examples of when they were traveling from Ibadan to Lagos to show kilometer and distance. So being able to bring curriculum to life, say this is how you can use it. This is how engineers, for example, find mathematics relevant. Being able to bring people that are able to, just bring this to life. It's not just paper. What's the relevance of these subjects, so to say, that they are learning in their day-to-day life, in classrooms? Who are the people that built these tables, for example? So that's another thing. The third point I would say is something called student encounters or insights. And student encounters is basically students having encounters of the workplace, whether that relates to maybe visiting an office, whether that relates to them even visiting or a professional coming into school to talk about what they do. They have experiences and encounters of, people in different walks of life. So they're able to say, oh, this is something like I want to do. This is something I'm interested in. Because what we find is a lot of people, maybe if we say they want to be doctors, they want to be nurses, a lot of students tend to go on with paths that are already within their family. The children of doctors want to be doctors. The children of accountants want to be accountants. The children of lawyers want to be lawyers. So there's that family influence, because it's not because there's the influence or they are forcing them necessarily, but it's because that is what they see. So we need to allow them to see more things. Let them see other possibilities of things that are possible or happening in the world. I would say the fourth thing is teacher encounters. We've said teachers are very important in shaping, in teaching, in influencing the minds of these students. And many times we have obviously teachers that maybe knew they wanted to be teachers even right from the beginning, maybe teachers that, yes, moved from another industry, but many a times, sometimes even as teachers, you can be talking about a subject and you yourself don't even really know, the practical side of it in the industry, which in itself can be a limitation. So teachers, as well as students, as much as students are having those encounters of the workplace, teachers also should have those encounters of the workplace. Obviously, that would be something that the school or however it is would be arranged. So teachers should see what are the different possibilities of this that can happen in this career, what is happening in the world, what are there's something we look at trends usually when it comes to industry, what are the trends, what are the future jobs that are going to be needed 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Those are things that teachers should be aware of and should be looking at and should be interested in. So teacher encounters. And the last thing I would say is personal guidance. Personal guidance is definitely something that is easier said than done, I would agree. But in terms of being able to talk to a student and say, what are you interested in? What are the things, even if it's subject, even if it's just, something they've seen outside, even if it's certain just quirks you've seen about them. But just being able to have that conversation where the student is able to say, okay, this is what I feel I want to do. I'm not really sure. That in itself, that personal guidance, that personal time is something that has really influenced a lot of students going forward. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ore. Thank you. I think the report you're talking about is GASB, G-A-S-B-Y, right? G-A-T-S-B-Y. Okay, G-A-T-S-B-Y, GASB. Okay, I think we should check it out so that we can have access to some of the thoughts she has shared with us. That will help. So let me ask Dr. Toyin, in a minute or two, how do you bring coaching and mentoring into this, especially for teachers and educators generally? How do we, I knew when Lagos State government was doing a COP project a couple of years ago, there was a super teacher kind of model to train other teachers and all of that. Within our own school communities, how do we incorporate coaching and mentoring? Is it still relevant? You understand? And how do we incorporate into it,
Okay.
because most times we talked about training and all of that. You continue to train some people, they continue to improve. You continue to train some people, they seems not to get it, simply because, just like Victoria said, majority of our professional development are focused on things like this way. Are there other ways we got? I can tell you, if I match a younger school leader with a Dr. Layiwola, she probably will do better than 10 years of sitting down in a workshop. So, is it still relevant? Then how can we appropriate it into the system?
Okay, I just wanted to add to what she said about career education, and that's the place of parents. You see, this aspect of personal guidance, parents should own it. I have 2 children, 13 and 10, and right from the moment I gave birth to them, I just knew their uniqueness. And I was having a conversation with my son yesterday, because he just loves mixing things. So at the point, he wanted to be a scientist, but yesterday he said, "Mommy, I think being a chef is not bad."
Wow.
And I said, "Absolutely." And he said, I made a recipe. I can't remember the name he called it anymore. But what he literally did was, he took an apple, boiled it, made it soft, took a chocolate, made it pass through it, and then pasted the chocolate spread on the apple. Maybe he said apple patate or something like that. And so the reason why he could also do that is that right from when they were very young, I allowed them to use resources in the house. And I celebrate it, right? And that is one of the things that made them very independent. And so for a lot of us as parents, no, you have wasted the soap. No, it shouldn't be, especially those of us that are parents and also work in the education space. We should know better. And that's also the place of parent education. So every time when you have a PTA meeting, it shouldn't just be about school fees increase and what have you. But a lot of parents don't know that parenting is a skill. And as such, they need to be taught. Otherwise, they're going to make your work difficult. Now, back to your question, Bibi. I just felt I should say something about that. Yes. If you found it insightful, please give me a round of applause. Yes. When it comes to mentoring and coaching, this is very powerful. And since 2020, 2019, I happen to serve as the Senior Special Assistant to the Director General at the Chartered Institute of Mentoring and Coaching Nigeria. And one of the things that we do is to institutionalize coaching and mentoring in schools and other organizations. In fact, that was why when I started my consulting outfit, I was tired of touch and go. You know what touch and go means? After the training, everybody just go. So I wanted to do a deeper work with people such that the transformational journey is evident, it's seen, it's felt, and is also transgenerational. Right now, a lot of people call me grand mentor and grand coach. Why? I've been able to raise a lot of coaches that has raised other coaches. And like I always say, if you are a coach and you don't have a coach, you are a cockroach. If you are a mentor and you don't have a mentor, you are a tormentor. Now, this is very crucial because in the world that we live in right now, there is a lot more that needs to be done when it comes to deeper work, especially in schools. So mentoring is diverse, coaching is superb in the sense that you can actually coach and mentor in different things and different skills. Peer coaching and mentoring is also very powerful because whether we like it or not, we all learn a lot more better from our peers. And then the aspect of even the lower generation having to mentor the upper generation, which is called reverse mentoring. Especially in the case of technology, we all in this room are digital migrants. But these children that have come after us are digital natives. In other words, I'm sure most of us have watched some of the movies where the child comes out from the mother's tummy right in the and grabs an iPad, and before you know it, is in the AI world and all that. So, in a nutshell, it is very, very relevant, and we have to be intentional and actually structure it. I have a limited time. If you'd like us to do that in your school, let's get to talk. Thank you.
Marketing opportunity. Okay, so Uzoma, I know you have this automation program that you do. Yes, teaching people to write books in few days. How many? In 7 days or something? 21 days. They write their books in 21 days. But before that, you were running a program on a communication academy. So in teaching business executives, top leaders, communication and all of that, what have you learned? And how do we as educators learn from them? I know business people are top-notch people, we look up to them, but they have issues. That's why they show up in your academy. So let us also know the issues they have that we can learn from, so that we don't also make those mistakes in the way.
I love that question. Okay, so first of all, I would like to state that when it comes to learning, there's what we call pedagogy, and there's andragogy, right? So how we teach children and all of that, everything that has to do with teaching children in education, that's pedagogy. Then andragogy is how you teach adults. Yes. So the way you teach a 5-year-old is certainly not the same way you teach a 12-year-old. Not the same way you teach a 21-year-old. Not the same way you teach a CEO. So whether you yourself the trainer, whether whether you've been training for 50 years, it doesn't matter. Where you have to teach your audience. So that apart, one thing that I have learned, and this cuts across all types of audience, yes. There's something called autonomy. Yes. Every person you're training or teaching, they have autonomy. In school, we will say, let the children lead their own learning. What we are facilitators. So what I have learned, one thing that has stood out is, no matter who you're training, even if they have a problem and they came to you, you need to always remember that they are an autonomy by themselves. They are not just dons coming to you. So at the end of the day, you have to identify, you have to acknowledge that fact that they have their own thing, but of course there's a problem or there's an issue that have brought them to you. So the best thing, one thing I have found is, you need to acknowledge what they know. And this is for an EYFS child, a 2-year-old. I mean, you know how, if it's a 2-year-old, when they come to you and they bring a stone to you, and they're like, I've made pizza for you. Yes, you take that stone and say, oh my word, this is the best pizza ever. Is it macaroni flavor or this flavor? They will tell you. Yes, whatever they tell you is the flavor, accept it. So that's it. Who do you want to argue with? So you accept it. So that cuts across all types of learners, all types of people you're teaching. You are the expert, but of course, when you ask a question, for example, if you ask a CEO a question, and of course you know the answer, and they are answering you what you know is, rubbish. You are not going to say, no, that's not true. You're going to acknowledge that answer, their years of experience, their whatever, everything, and then that is where tact and diplomacy comes in. Because you have to find a way to say, in school, there's something we call WWW and EBI. What went well? Acknowledge the fact that they even answered you in the first place, whether it is wrong or not. Then EBI is even better if. It would have been better if you do this. There's something is called, in feedback, it's called the sandwich method. Accept what the person has said, acknowledge, then you lay in the negative criticism in the middle and then cover it again. Another type of feedback is called plussing. It's called plussing, like plus, P-L-U-S, plussing. So you're not saying, no, it is not this. You're saying, yes, however. So you're adding onto what they have already said. So that's very important. That's one key thing that I know that as educators, as school owners, we have to borrow from that. The person you're saying in your classroom, or a teacher, or a security guard, like she said, everybody in your school environment, school community, parents, those ones you think, oh, they are not, this one, do they know anything about education? There's always something everybody is bringing on board. And you have to accept that first, acknowledge that first, and then add on to it, and then plus it. So that's what I was
WWEBI and plussing.
Plussing.
Did you get that? www.ebi then plussing. Thank you very
www.
much.
What went well.
What went well.
EBI, even better if. Then plussing.
Plussing.
In plussing feedback, you don't say no, it is you say yes.
Yes.
That yes is acknowledging what they have said, whatever it is. And then you now add on to whatever it is you want to add to.
Fantastic. Let's do that together for Uzoma. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Plus, because of time, I'll allow Dr. Layiwola to add two more. The first one, setting the direction. Then let's add two more.
Okay, thank you. The next one I'd like to talk about is developing people. Developing people. In fact, that is key. And I think Victoria mentioned that so well. You know, we need to develop our people. They come in with their own skills, attitudes, knowledge, and so on and so forth. But you know where you are going, and through your certain direction, you've been able to try to get them to go with you, you know, in the same direction. But you need to make or have deliberate attempt to develop your people, you know, not really through one-off things like we're doing now, though it's very, very key, you know, but through coaching, through mentoring, you know, through, if possible, assigning members of staff who are good in a particular area to those who are still developing their skills in that area. And I found that works. It works because the person who is almost an expert in that area gets recognition that, oh, so I'm good in this area. And then the other one who is just coming up feels, oh, yes, I can learn from this person, you know, and so you have things going really well. So it's very important we develop people, we take time, we write out, what we want to do in conjunction with whoever needs that level of development. Professional staff development is very key. And nowadays, there are so many ways, you know, of doing that. We could have face-to-face, you know, coaching or mentoring session. You could have peer mentoring. You could do it through lesson observation. You could do it through attending institutes. You could do it through technology. You know, you have some really good courses and you are telling your people to go on and do it. You could do it through people sharing best practices. So I have a very limited time. So there's a lot under developing people. You must make it a key. You know, there are 4 main areas which transformational leaders seek to work on, and developing people is key. It's just as important as setting direction. The third one I would like to talk about is managing the instructional program. That's why I believe instructional leadership is subsumed in transformational leadership. Because as a transformational leader, you are all about improving students' outcomes. And if you are improving their outcome, you have to be particular about the mode of instruction in your school. You have to develop the capabilities of your teachers, either by you doing what you need to do, you know, being a mentor, a guide, or a coach, or whatever, and ensuring that whatever, you know, through your analysis, you know, data analysis. Let me just cite an example. Maybe your students, for instance, in external exams did not do so well in a subject. Let me say mathematics, you know, through data. Maybe they didn't do well in mathematics. Now the onus is on you to develop instructional program that will help show up the performance of students in mathematics. And you can do that in so many ways. Get people to help you to analyze the data. Let them identify what went wrong. Let them identify what they can do better. Set structures in place. It may be that, okay, every week we're going to have online maths class in this area, or it may be, no, we're going to get more videos for our students. It may be, oh, we're going to get more practical things for our students to do. Whatever. We're going to get them to do past question papers, whatever you need to do. You know, you manage the instructional program to achieve your objective of improving students' outcome. I don't know if I'll have time.
So, just by the time we are saying the final one, you tell us the fourth one.
Okay.
Because I know people are taking note, right? Please follow up. You drop that. Questions from the audience, I'll just take 2. If we don't have questions, then they have more time to at least share thoughts. No questions?
I should go on.
Okay, continue. So, last thought from everyone, 1 minute. So, start from Dr. Layiwola. Please go ahead with the fourth word.
Okay.
Then 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. The last one I want to talk about is redesigning the organization. Redesigning the organization. The first one is what?
Setting the direction.
The second one is what?
Developing people.
The third one is what?
Managing instruction.
And the fourth one is what? Redesigning the organization. Please, you are a wonderful audience. Clap for yourselves. I give you a thumbs up. Yeah. Now, redesigning the organization. Tweaking, that means just what it says. Tweaking your policies. You know where you are going. You have done your assessment. Tweaking your policies. If you need to bring in consultants or resource persons from outside to help you. If it means running a parenting program for your parents. Maybe they don't seem to understand why you are doing certain things in the school. Maybe you want to focus on that aspect. Maybe it's communication. You know, anything you need to do to redesign the organization to help you to achieve the outcome. So in a nutshell, that's what transformational leadership is all about. Any day, anytime, I give it up for transformational leadership.
Wow, let's put that together for Dr. Layiwola. Thank you very much. Don't worry, I've left instructional leadership. I will now come with enterprising leadership.
The instructional program, managing it, ensuring that nothing is disturbing the learning time of the children, you know, assigning teachers as square pegs in square holes, not square pegs in round holes, you know, just making sure you have a good fit all around the organization. Allowing teachers who are good at emceeing events to do that. You know, it takes a lot. You need to know your people so that you can manage the instructional program very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Uzoma, your last stop.
59
seconds.
So you mean she has eaten 1 second of my 1 minute? Okay, so my takeaway, my last thought would be we need to model. We need to model what we are communicating. So as a leader, school owner, teacher, you know, so many times we tell children, read. Why have you not read? Why have you not read? Why have you not done this? Do we read as school owners? Let me ask, when was the last time you read a book? Seriously, who is reading? Is anybody reading a book now? Yes. See? Just a few hands up. So I mean, see, when we talk about communication, it's not just about what you say. We do know that when you're saying something, children hear more of your action than what you are saying. So model whatever you're communicating. We say we're teaching spelling, we're teaching all of that, but we're not even putting effort into spelling correctly. Most of us write in abbreviations. PLS for please. Are we what's and we want the children. Yes, and we want those ones are even okay. So, for example, when you want to say good morning, you just write GM. What are you teaching? What are you modeling? You know. Yes, GR and then number 8 for great. But you want the children to write their own properly. So what are we communicating? So let's model what we are communicating. In the place where I work, the owner of the school, she never comes to your class or your office to tell you, you must do this, you must do this. But hey, she's showing it she's not even very close to you, but she models the excellence, the standard that she wants in that school. She doesn't do any email or anything, but you know that I should not do this because this is not accepted in this school. Because she communicates what she wants in that school. Communication is not just about talking. It's reading, it's listening, active listening. Most of us listen to Okay, finish talking. When you finish talking, I'll say what I want to say. So let's not listen to respond. Let's listen to understand. What's habit 5? Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Because you see that sometimes you're talking with somebody, by the time they finish talking and you're responding, you see that there's no connection between what they have said and what you are now responding. That's because you were not listening. You were waiting for them to finish so that you say that thing in your own mind. So basically, let's model what we communicate. Read if you want the children to read. Write if you want the children to write. Creative writing. Most of us, let's write. You don't know how to write. When last did you write something on Facebook? Anywhere. Listening. Let's learn to listen. One way to know that you're listening very well. For example, if he finishes talking, one way I can or he can ascertain that I've understood what he said is to clarify. So what I hear you say is blah, 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 and then you just repeat or echo what he has said. That way, that teacher will know that you were actually listening. So my final thoughts, model what you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Model what you.
She wasn't listening.
She wasn't listening. Your final words, Dr. T.
Let's be mindful of the fact that everything about us impacts on a generation. And we have to live a lot more intentionally. If there's any reason why I wake up every morning, I try to think through what's going to be my legacy. And not just about the world out there, but starting with my own home, right? What is that thing I'm going to leave behind? There's a model in our mentoring program that's, I do ask my mentees the question, what would you like to be written on your tombstone when you are no more? And when I get to ask them a question about what exactly was going through your mind when you were answering this question, some of them are like, how will Dr. Toyin, this is the weirdest thing ever. But hey, that gives us a deeper sense of the reason why we still exist. I have had about 5 life-threatening situations. I didn't tell Bossman and Monsieur. 45 minutes flight, I was in the air for 2 hours because of turbulence on Wednesday morning. And while everybody was fidgeting and all that, I just said, God, for me to live is Christ, to die is gain. And I slept off, sincerely. I slept off. What woke me up was the announcement for the pilots. In 20 minutes, we'll be landing at the Muritala Mohammed Airport. I said, okay, God, you still want me here? Cool. Let's do this. Right? So our lives must carry depth. Our life must carry a sense of purpose, a sense of significance, a sense of intentionality. Now, when we start from there, then we need to draw out a growth path. That's another thing a lot of us miss out. Not every training you should jump on, and that's why we burn out, because we are everywhere. But it's all and nowhere, because it is that laser focus that aggregates and makes it something tangible. So, what's your growth plan for 2024? What's your growth budget for 2024? And I believe that as we do that, I usually have 4. And for each of the quarter of the year, for example, one of my growth plans for this year was to learn more about public leadership, policy, politics, and governance. And I'm so glad I achieved it just last week, Saturday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Our final word. Careers.
How do we say after such amazing, amazing words? I think my final thoughts, or my final plea, more so, is that we should all be career advocates. We should all be career advocates, and if I can just break that into the simplest way, I would say it's just bringing everything that we are doing to life. Just bringing it to life. We're speaking about now going from theory to practical. And I would say career education in that sense is basically everything that it is that we are doing. What's that one thing we can do to just bring this to life to the students? Because right now I can tell you there is a big gap, and it is not just in Nigeria, between education and industry. And that gap is only going to get wider if we don't do anything, because industry keeps changing every single time. And so I would just say, what is that one thing that you can do to help bring whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're teaching to life? Because that one thing in itself brings that gap, or it makes that gap narrower. It brings it closer in itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ore. Can you please put your hands together again for all our panelists this evening? Thank you so much for sharing from your world of experience. I know you have so much to share, and we don't have the time. I wish we could expand it and all of that. So what we have done is the media team is ready, giving you another 2-3 minutes to further share thoughts behind the scene. And all these short clips will be posted on the YouTube channel, and all of us can watch and all of that. So I know you can't, like a friend of mine will always say, the whole counsel of God cannot be declared in a meeting. So we know even if we give you the whole day, there will still be much more to say. We were together for 6 months at pace, but we still know there's so much to learn. So again, we take time after the program. Just give them 2-3 minutes, share thoughts that you think you've not been able to share, and the whole audience will have access to it. And those who are online too will also have access to it. Let's put our hands together again as they step off. Where is our mod? Tolani.
Understand your why, then you know how to go on to the what and the how. If you don't know the why you're in this space, then it's not the space for you. So as educators, I'm taking that away, and we all take that away, and I'm not giving her this. I'm not giving. Thank you very much. See, another one. Oh, where should send? I work with children who have additional needs.
Thank you.
If you need me to come to your school to work with your children who have additional needs, I'm marketing. Call me.
All right, thank you. So when I come to you now, just say one word. One word. This woman has taken all your words. So just one word, please.
Okay. My takeaway. Wow. Okay, my takeaway is that none of us is better than the others. We need to cooperate, collaborate, and work as a team player. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. My takeaway is we have to be intentional about what we do.
I've heard collaboration, I've heard intentionality.
Let's keep improving ourselves. There's more room for improvement.
Improvement.
My takeaway is that we have to model our communication.
Yes. Model.
We have all the data we need in our schools.
Data.
My takeaway is data assessment.
Data.
Feedback is the breakfast of the champions.
Yes, you remember that.
Real life. Mathematics has to be real life.
Are you a math teacher? That's why.
Transformational leaders are needed.
Transformational leadership.
Model what you communicate. Very important.
Thank you.
Teachers. Teachers are the greatest resource you need in a school, and you have to be very intentional in how you empower them to transform the education space.
Wow. Teachers are the greatest resource.
Okay. My take home was about data. Someone has mentioned that, so I'll just use maybe more like career education. The way what's that? Ore. Yeah, as in the fact that we need to be very, very deliberate about for the children to know what they want to be, and so that we can make everything come to life, practical, as in every single thing. So I'll take that.
Thank you very much, everyone. Simon says clap 1. Simon says clap 1. Simon says clap 2. Clap 3. I got it. That means you don't know. You don't know that game. You don't know how to play that game. You didn't. All right, your take home.
Okay, intentional leadership. And intentional leadership is not any other thing than personal leadership. If it comes from you, it would make a big deal.
So that game, Simon says, if I tell you to do something and I don't say Simon says, if you do it, you're out of the game. Simon says, stand up. Simon says, go home. Don't go. Thank you, everyone. We're just going to present plaques.
Okay, please, I know people want to go, but just give us 5 minutes and we are out of here. Dr. Layiwola, please come off stage. Thank you for your time. Dr. Toyin, next. Nurse Uzoma, next. An auxiliary nurse, Bossman. Please put your hands together for Dr. Layiwola. Thank you. Uduma, our project manager all-rounder. Project manager Uzoma Uduma. We forgot to put nurse in front of it. Dr. Toyin Sam-Emehelu. Excuse me. Where is she? No. Dr. Toyin, where is she? Okay, Dr. Toyin is not here. So please, in 1 minute, please let's all come up stage and take a group picture. Then we can release.